who have small shea butter processing factories in the districts. So unless he comes and tells us, is he coming to do electronic appliances? He's coming to do textiles and garments? Is he coming to do car assembly plants in the districts? You know, if you talk about those factories, people's conception of factories differ. So if you say factory, then it means some big steel making plants in Bole district. We would love that, but it means you have to truck all the iron rods to Bole or all the metal to Bole and fabricate it.
Generally, you're
before you
saying
send
that we
it.
need better clarification.
He has to clarify
of what he's doing.
Yeah,
okay,
he has a tendency to do that.
Oh,
he has a tendency to do that. In the free school program, when you came down to the figures and the nitty-gritty, he found it very difficult to explain. It's the same thing that is happening here. You just throw out a promise. That's the old yesterday's campaigning in those days, you know, my father's time. You just throw out something and then people just pick it. One village, one dam, one village, one dam. They don't know if it's a dugout or it's a barrage dam or it's a proper irrigation dam. They don't know. But then just because you say one village, one dam, one village, one factory, what kind of factory? Is it a car assembly plant? Is it the kind of factories we know, electronic appliance, textiles and garments? Are those the plants or small and medium enterprises? If they're small and medium enterprise factories, that is happening already.
But he said, to be fair to him, he said, free SHS. Yes, you may be right about the crunching of the numbers was not available, but you didn't say it. He said it. You picked it up and you have carried it out.
No.
And your supporters give you credit.
I said that it wasn't a new idea there again. I said because the Constitution enjoined us to introduce it progressively.
Progressively, yes.
And I said that I was enjoined by the Constitution to do it progressively. He said free SHS now. But I said that access was more important because if you made it free and the schools were not there for the children to go to, what was the use? And so I was going to put resources into expanding access, but I'll progressively introduce it. That was my program. And his program was free SHS now. He didn't talk about access, he didn't talk about quality. Those were the differences.
Have you actually...
So now again, it's the same, just throwing out the promises like they used to do in those days. One village, one dam. One village, one factory. What kind of factory? What kind of dam? If it's dugouts, we don't need dugouts.
Let's come to your promises, Your Excellency. So in 2012, you won the election. It's been 4 years now. You made promises. You now have put up a green book. You said you are transforming Ghana. You have begun the process. Where is the evidence of this transformation? Do you think that the ordinary Ghanaian who walks in front of Flagstaff House will say, if he's non-partisan, will say that indeed there has been transformation in Ghana? Why would he say that?
I focused on 5 main areas. And in those 5 main areas, I believe that Ghanaians would see that some investment has gone into these areas. If you look at access to water, we've taken access to water from 58% in 2008 to 76% in 2014, 2015. That is a quantum jump. Urban water and rural water.
What you mean is 76% of Ghanaians now have
access to clean drinking water.
In 2008, 58%.
It was 58%.
Okay.
And so today, I mean, I don't know if you live in the northern part of Accra, which used to be very water-starved, Adenta, East Legon, and other areas. I mean, if you live there, you would see that there's been a transformation because we're pumping in 20 million gallons more of water into Accra. From the desalination plant, we're pumping in another 10 million gallons of water. We've increased supply of water into Accra by more than 50 million gallons. And so more people are getting access to water, and that is just Accra. We've done small town water systems. They are uncountable all over the country.
So water is one of them?
So water is one of them. Electricity is the other. In electricity, we have continued to extend power to all parts of the country. And so we've increased our access to power to almost 80%. And it is considered that in sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana is second only to South Africa in terms of access to power.
So that's better than Kenya?
Yes.
Better than Nigeria?
Second in sub-Saharan Africa.
Better than Cote d'Ivoire?
Second in sub-Saharan Africa.
Better than Zimbabwe?
Second in sub-Saharan Africa.
We'll check that.
Yes.
Yeah,
we have almost 80% of our people having access to power. And we are continuing to expand. And I believe that with the new communities that we're going to bring onto the grid, almost 1,800 to 2,000 of them we should cross the 80% mark. Of course, there are some communities that you will find difficult to reach with the national transmission grid because of the remoteness from the grid system. And so what we're doing is we're covering those communities with solar power. And so they, even though they are not using electric power, are able to get electricity using solar generated modules. And so we've done quite well in power generation. Now that our power generation has stabilized, then it means that all those that we have connected onto the system are able to get more power. So that's electricity. Aside from that, if you take healthcare, we are building polyclinics, we're building health centers, we're building CHIPS compounds, we're building regional hospitals, we're building teaching hospitals all across the country. Our policy is that every district should have a good health facility. And so
wait a minute, let me capture that in propaganda terms. So
our policy is that, okay, if I were the politician of old, I would say one district, one hospital.
Okay, so that's what you're doing, one district, one hospital.
Exactly. And so I'm sure that that is how my opponent, puts his things.
But that's how many hospitals you are building?
But our district, we have 216 districts. Some have hospitals already.
Yeah.
Others don't, especially some of the newly created districts don't have hospitals. And so we've prioritized those newly created districts. And so we're building polyclinics, depending on the population. It's either a full-fledged hospital or a polyclinic that we can later upgrade into a hospital as the population continues to increase. And so we built 5 polyclinics in Upper West region. We built 5 polyclinics in Northern region. We built 5 polyclinics in Western region. We built 5 polyclinics in Brong-Ahafo region. We're building 10 polyclinics in Central region. We're building another 5 polyclinics in Greater Accra region. And we're sourcing the funding for building another 5 polyclinics in the Volta region and Eastern regions. Aside from that, district hospitals, we're building several district hospitals. The Shai Osudoku District Hospital at Dodowa, I don't know if you've seen it, is one of such. We have Kumewu, we have Abetifi, we have so many of them. I can't remember exactly how many, but there are so many of them. Then
so
we have
health, yeah.
Yes. Then we have regional hospitals. We're building the new Wa Regional Hospital. We're building the Bolga Regional Hospital. We've actually got another 20 million to expand phase 2 of the Bolga Upper West Regional Hospital. We're building the Takrady Hospital. We're building the Ridge Hospital, which is going to become the Greater Accra Regional Hospital to ease the pressure of Kolebu. That's going to be a 620-bed hospital. And then we're building the new University of Ghana Teaching Hospital that allows them to move their teaching, on campus and make it a center of excellence in terms of medical care. And so in the field of medicine, we need to put in the facility so that people can have access. What use is it to have affordability in terms of a national health insurance scheme when you do not have the facility to be able to, access that health care? So that has been one of our focuses. Aside from that, we have increased the number of health training institutions to about 95, from around 34 to about 95. So it means that more health professionals are being trained. Health assistants, doctors, and other paramedical staff are all being trained so that we can staff these hospitals. Aside from that, we did retrofitting of all the existing hospitals with new medical equipment. It cost us more than $200 million to replace all the old x-rays, all the old MRI scans, all the electrocardiograms and everything. And we did it for all the major hospitals. They received new equipment so that they are functioning at optimum. They're able to do their diagnostics and be able to give proper care to people. So healthcare is one area in which we have made a major investment. Aside from that, we concentrated on education. In education, it's been from tertiary right down to primary. Of course, under primary and basic, our focus has been on eliminating the schools and the trees. And from our count, we've built about 1,670 of those new schools and the trees. It's not only schools and the trees, but also substandard schools. Where there's a school but it's substandard, we have taken it out and put a new school block. In secondary education, of course, we realized there was a bottleneck. And so I came with the 200 community-day senior high schools. So far, 123 have been given on contract. They are different stages of completion. They are being populated as they are being finished. And I know that in my second term of office, by 2021, would have built all the 200, and they'll be operational, and they'll have children in them studying, you know, and being able to realize their full potential. At the tertiary level, we've added the new universities. UHAS, I inaugurated their campus, their new campus, a few months ago. The University of Energy and Natural Resources. We've passed the Eastern University, which is the University of Environment and Sustainable Development. We've passed the bill through Parliament, and we've allocated $50 million to establish their campus. Aside from that, we are building autonomous universities out of the 3 UDS universities. We're developing their infrastructure so that at a certain point we can create separate universities out of the University of Development Studies. And so there are all these projects that are going on.
Have you seen the SSCE results, the latest one?
Yes, I have.
It was very bad.
What do you mean by very bad?
Well, it was reported that it's one of the worst results that we had in terms of failure rate.
That is the misinformation.
Is it misinformation?
Absolutely, absolutely misinformation. And I believe that the media should go beyond the propaganda that we politicians do. As soon as the results came out, some people came out and, you know, talked about abysmal results and things. We have been improving in the West African Senior Secondary School certificate exams for the last 3 years.
So this year is an improvement
for
from
the
last year?
3 years, Ghanaians have topped the best 3. First, second, third has come from Ghana.
In terms of the aggregate performance.
I'm just coming. I'm telling you from the beginning. I said for the last 3 years, the whole of West Africa Exams Council exams, those who take it, Ghanaians have topped, taking those positions. But if you come and look at performance, we normally look at aggregate A1 to C6 and see how many, because C6 is a credit.
Yeah. So
from C6 to A1, we see what percentage of the students got A1 to C6. And in last year's results, 24.7% of the children had A1 to C6.
24. In
2007, 10%, 10.4% or 10.5% had A1 to C6. And so how can you call 24% abysmal? Of course, we're not satisfied with it. We want to do even better.
It's very low, isn't it? If 24% are getting A1 to C6, is that not very low? Even though I come to the 2007 shocking one, but is that not low?
That's why I say we're not satisfied with our performance, but it has been improving year on year. Indeed, in 2012, we achieved in excess of 30%.
Okay.
And I don't remember the exact figure, but 2012 was our best performance year. But we have continued to improve. And this year, that was said to be abysmal and said education is declining. It rather is going up. It's higher than it was in
2007 when the NPP was in power.
Yes.
The pass rate or the achievement rate of students from A1 to C6 was just 10%.
In 2007, it was 10.5% also. 10.5%.
Was that the lowest in the last 20 years?
It was the most abysmal performance we had ever had.
Under the NPP administration?
Yes.
So the point you're making is that they shouldn't be the people telling us that this one was abysmal.
Well, I didn't want to compare. You said, they said it was abysmal.
It was, that's what everyone is saying.
And I'm saying that we're doing much better than we did in 2007. 2007 was the worst performance. 2012 was our best.
Let's lead this to teachers' allowance or where are we on those matters? Teachers' allowance, it was reported that it's been terminated by government. And then later on, it was said it's been
teacher training
allowance. Yes,
it was not terminated. It wasn't terminated.
Are you still paying teacher training allowance?
It was substituted.
With what?
If you say it was terminated, it means that we just stopped it arbitrarily.
Yeah. So what did you substitute it with?
It was substituted with the student loan scheme. What had happened was,
like the university students do.
Yes. What had happened was we had upgraded the colleges of education to tertiary institutions and degree awarding institutions. Now, the colleges of education are not the only institutions awarding degrees to professional teachers. You have the University of Education, Winneba, you have the University of Cape Coast, and even Legon is producing teachers. Now, University of Education, Winneba, University of Cape Coast, and Legon, the students who are training to be professional teachers take the students' loan like any students in any university. But then the colleges of education were still taking the students' teacher trainee allowance. And so for reasons of equity, because all of them are going to go back with the same certificates and go and teach in the same schools. And these ones take students' loan, and these ones take teacher trainee allowances. That's the first thing. The second thing is that with the substitution, we realized that with the substitution of teacher trainee allowances with student loans, we could increase the capacity of the colleges of education to take in more students. So since we did that substitution, enrollment in teacher training colleges has gone up 63.8%. It means that 63.8% of the students in colleges of education today would not have been there if we had continued to maintain the teacher trainee allowances. And so there are several students I've met who understand, and one of them told me, he said, seriously, I would not have been in training college by now. I tried twice, I wasn't taken.
So it's a good policy?
For him, he tried twice, he wasn't taken. It was when I substituted it for students' loan and we asked them to increase their capacity that he was able to go in. And today he's training, he's in second year. He'll finish third year and then he'll come out, has a job as a professional teacher. He would not have had that opportunity if we had continued to pay teacher training allowances. And so it's for two reasons. One, equity, a matter of equity. The same teacher trainees are in University of Education. The same teacher trainees are in Cape Coast. The same teacher trainees are in Legon. Why must they, because they are in these institutions, take the student loan, but then those in the colleges of education must take teacher trainee allowances? And so one, for equity; two, in order to improve and expand capacity so that more students, can have the opportunity to train and be able to earn a job as a professional teacher.
So you talked about health and you talked about education, and you also talked about infrastructure. What's the other area that you believe you have improved Ghanaian lives?
We've improved in the area of roads. We're doing a lot of massive work when it comes to the road network. One of the things I noticed in both 2008 and 2012 when I went around the country on the campaign, and even as president traveling around the campaign, was the very bad nature of most of the roads in the country. And any chief I went to, they complained that the major issue, the major problem they have is a road network. And so I decided that we must do something about it. So we have three sources of funding. We have the Government of Ghana budget, which is approved by Parliament every year. And then we introduced the Cocoa Roads Improvement Program, of which we take $150 million every year from the cocoa flotation. And we dedicate it to improving roads in the 6 cocoa growing regions. And then the third source of funding is the Enhanced Road Fund, which was passed as part of the energy levy. And so under that, we have identified strategic roads in the country, and we're paying to improve those roads. The good thing about all these programs is that 95% of the contractors engaged in this road work are Ghanaians, indigenous Ghanaian companies. And so it means that unlike in the past, where we had contractors from other countries coming and doing all those works, today we have our own Ghanaian contractors doing this work. They are earning that money. They are employing Ghanaian civil engineers. They are employing Ghanaian excavator operators, bulldozer operators. They are employing Ghanaian laborers on their sites and everything. And so that money is being recirculated, within the Ghanaian economy, and that's a good thing. One of the statistics I cite is that before I came into office, only 6 foreign contractors had asphalt plants in this country. Today, 22 contractors have asphalt plants, and out of this 22, at least 16 of them are Ghanaian contractors who have their own asphalt plants. And so a lot of the asphalting you see being done in the night and things are being done by Ghanaian companies. And so Ghanaian companies, one, we've created Ghanaian companies that are becoming world-class in terms of road construction. And so if we have major road works to do, we don't need to bring foreign contractors to do it. That's one. And then two, we've created jobs in the road construction industry. Not only the road construction industry, all these massive infrastructural works we have been doing engage Ghanaians. You go to every site. I've been to the hospitals, I've been to the schools while they are being built, and you see masons, you see bricklayers, you see steel benders, you see foremen, you see machine operators. I mean, and they are all Ghanaian. We estimate that at least 500,000 jobs have been created as a result of public works. If you look
500,000.
Yeah, we estimate that on all the building sites and road sites.
Have you encountered any bad roads on this campaign so far?
Oh yes, plenty. The work is a lot. It's
Because
a lot
what they say is that when the pictures come on social media,
Yeah.
especially of Akufo-Addo's campaign, they say, so that's the convoy, that's a bad road we encountered. Here is President Mahama saying that he's done the roads. Where are the roads that he's done? In fact, there's actually a photograph of a 4x4 vehicle which appears very dirty on a mud road. And Dr. Dramani Mahama and Joyce Bauer are standing behind it. And it's going around and they said, here are the Mahama good roads. So if the roads have been done, why are you encountering bad roads on the campaign? How do you feel when you see these pictures coming out and say that, where are the roads?
Well, did I ever say I have done all the roads in Ghana?
No, you didn't.
You start somewhere. The roads were bad. I've started somewhere. You know, and yes, there are still bad roads, and we're going to come to them. Because as we finish these, we're going to... The thing is to have a program, which is what we have. We have a program. And I've said that 150 million every year for 5 years into the 6 cocoa growing regions. And so as the contractors finish, they are being given other roads to do. And under the enhanced program, as they finish these roads, they are being given other roads to do. And so when I say I've done roads, it doesn't mean that you should go and look for a bad road somewhere and say, oh, but President Mahama, there's a bad road here. Yes, we'll come to it.
What percentage
and that's
have you covered?
that's why I deserve a second term, to be able to do those roads that you're complaining about.
So that's campaign 2016, right, in the president's office. I'll be back after the break. Thank you and welcome back to the program. I hope that you are enjoying the interview and you are making your notes as well. I'm sure that you can always contact President Mahama on social media and he will answer all the questions you have. He has 1 million followers on social media. Should I say congratulations for that?
I recorded a message to my
I've
followers.
seen it, yeah. A lot of people have seen
on
it.
1 million, yeah.
I see. So hopefully you get to 2 million before the election.
Before the 2016?
Yes, before December.
Wow. I hope.
There's been an uncomfortable matter in the media about the campaign again and also about your opponents. The Africa Watch magazine had published his health records. They had alleged all sorts of ailments against him. They had also published about Mr. Rawlings earlier. The Nana Akufo-Addo's doctor was on radio to deny the claims and said that he's healthy. It has sort of ranged in a debate about the health of political leaders, especially when they are campaigning. We know too well of the case of Professor Mills. As president, what is your reaction to this story?
It's, as a historian, I can't help but note that history comes around, you know, because I remember we've been here before. In the period when Professor Mills was campaigning and I was his running mate, our opponents raised the issue of his health and continued to hammer the issue of his health. And here we are again with the same thing, you know, coming up with issues about somebody's health being raised. I've told my compatriots that we don't run on the health of our opponents, and so we don't make that an issue. But it has come up for public debate. I noticed in the US election too, there were issues about, you know, candidates' health and things. So it's something that people will talk about. But I don't take advantage of a person's health, you know, I believe that I have enough to talk about without, you know, running on somebody's health record.
Is it improper for a magazine to publish health records of a candidate?
With journalism, you need to look at the ethics. If you read the story, did they breach anything? It has to do with patient privilege and things. How did they come by that information, you know, and things like that. But it's for the public to discuss and see whether any ethics were breached or whether it was proper or improper. I'm not the right person to judge. But like I've said, it's not an issue for me. I have enough to talk about to the electorate, and I believe that I'll be elected not based on somebody's health I'll be elected based on my own merits and what I have done, you know, for my country in the 4 years that I have served as president.
Should we ask you, the candidates, to voluntarily tell us your health status? Pakwesi Ndum has already said that. Should we ask you to do that? Should we have asked Professor Mills to do that?
If there's a consensus and Ghanaians indicate that they would want to know the health records of candidates, I would voluntarily give my health records. I feel well, and I have energy. I'm okay. I think and I'm president already. I'm carrying out my job without any disadvantages, and so I don't have any problem giving out my health records. But like I'm saying, I won't take advantage of somebody's health to run. I have enough to communicate with the electorate about without being distracted by, you know, how somebody feels or what the person's state of health is.
Your Excellency, there's another matter. A journalist in Joy FM, Manasseh, put up an investigative report, and he found out that a contractor, a Burkina Faso contractor, who had done road construction in Ghana, who was also responsible for constructing the wall in Burkina Faso, our embassy in Burkina Faso in Ouagadougou, had given you a gift, a Ford vehicle that apparently had not been disclosed to the Ghanaian people. And since then, people have said that there's a conflict of interest against President Mahama. In fact, people have gone to the Commission of Human Rights, and you have been notified about it, about this Ford gift. Last week, the NPP occasioned a parliamentary sitting out of Parliament's regular session to get the Parliament to discuss it and set up a committee to look at the matter, whether you had breached a rule one way or the other. Basically on conflict of interest and on corruption alarm bells. The Speaker, in his wisdom and on the strength of the law, said that the matter was properly before Shraj. Now, since this is the first time we're speaking to you after this matter broke, what is the real story about the Ford?
Well, the matter is before Shraj, as the Speaker rightly said, and I cannot comment on the merits of the issue because it's under investigation. In order that I don't prejudice that investigation, but I can talk about the processes. Yes, a complaint was made against me by 2 individuals, and Shraj wrote to me and detailed various issues that they wanted answered. And so together with my lawyers, we answered those questions. They've been conducting their investigations ever since then. They have interviewed several people. They have visited the Flagstaff House, our transport section, and done many things. And so once that investigation is ongoing, I have submitted myself to it, and I submit myself to any verdict that Shraj will come up with. Now, while this investigation is going on, and it's been going on for a while, it was going on while Parliament was in session, whoever signed that motion did not sign the motion at the time. They waited till Parliament went on recess for many weeks, and then you sign and ask the Speaker to call back Parliament. The Speaker is constitutionally enjoined to call back if you get that required number of signatures, which they had got. And then you come back to Parliament and he says, set up a parallel investigation to what Shraj is setting up. I mean, as seasoned members of Parliament, they should know that it was untenable. And so to waste people's resources, anytime we call back Parliament, we have to pay them TNT to come to Parliament, we have to pay them TNT to go back home. While Parliament is in session, all the materials they need and everything have to be provided, you know. So I think it was a frivolous waste of taxpayers' money. There are case law studies that say Shraj is the constitutional body properly imbued with the powers to investigate abuse of office and code of conduct of office holders. And Shraj was doing exactly that. Why recall Parliament to come and listen to a motion to investigate? Initially, they had given us the impression, and the media had also given us the impression that it was a motion to impeach. If it was a motion to impeach, it's a completely different matter. It lies within the ambit of Parliament to do that. And so you say you're recalling Parliament because you wanted to impeach the president. Yes, the Speaker calls it. Then you say a motion for a bipartisan investigation, you know. I think that we should.
You're clearly angry with the NPP's process.
No, I'm not angry. I'm sad.
Why?
You know, it's petty politicking. Everybody knows what the reasoning behind that whole gerrymandering was. It absolutely was unnecessary. It's petty politicking.
Do you think
sad.
all of us Ghanaians, and especially the media, are making a smoke screen out of this fraud, and it's not a big deal?
Well, let's leave that to Traj.
Are you confident that you come out of the Traj process?
I did no wrong. I'm confident I did no wrong.
Let's look at international politics, what's happening these days. And Ghana and America run elections all the time. Again, in the trend analysis, we've noticed that when the Americans vote for center-left, Ghana also votes for center-left. So when we were voting on November 7th, this was the first time Ghana was going to vote before the Americans, so the trend would have failed. Now we are back to the same place. So in 92, they vote center-left. 96, they do. We always do what they do. We do what they do in December when they do it in November. So we're looking out to see what happens. But here's an emerging trend in American politics, a phenomenon known as Mr. Donald Trump. I'm sure that you've been observing. While he's not of your political philosophy because he's on the right, what do you think about Mr. Trump?
I think when you're in school, you love trend analysis. You like all this, analyzing trends and all that. But what do I think of Mr. Trump? I think it's for the American people to decide what they think about him. I'm a social democrat, and so he being on the right of center, I don't agree with a lot of the policies he's espousing, but it's not in my mouth to make a determination of that. I think that the ultimate people to decide, whether his rhetoric is acceptable to them is the American electorate, and so let's leave it at that.
When can I join you on the campaign?
Anytime. You are invited anytime.
Where do you go from, Central Region?
We have a couple of regions lined up. Our campaign team determine which the next region will be. But certainly Central Region is in the periscope, and I'm sure that it's going to be a very interesting campaign. We're doing 16 constituencies in 5 days.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, 16 constituencies in 5 days.
And you'll be speaking every day?
Every day in multiple constituencies. Yeah.
What do you live on? What do you feed? Do you have more water, more juice, more?
You have to take a lot of liquids. And my doctors asked me to take a lot of fluid. So water, I drink a lot of water. And then I drink a lot of tea, black tea.
So no fufu on that?
No. When I'm on the campaign trail, I don't like to feel heavy. So I don't eat heavy food. I take light food.
I see.
Yeah.
I see you enjoy that.
I'll take some soup or something. That's it. And then.
You take biscuits?
No, I don't eat biscuits.
Do you take granite?
I like granuts.
Do you take atadre?
Atadre?
Yes.
Atadre is seasonal, but I don't like atadre.
Okay.
I like granuts. Yes.
The international media have noticed a certain, I don't know whether it's a symbiotic relationship or a certain closeness between you and Uhuru Kenyatta, the Kenyan president. Are you the guys? Do you look so close to each other, and you seem to like each other quite well because you are sharing the same strengths and weaknesses with Uhuru Kenyatta?
The same strengths and weaknesses. I don't know about that. I have many friends amongst my colleagues, presidents. Macky Sall is somebody that I relate with very well. Yai Boni was somebody I related with very well. Yes, Uhuru is somebody I relate with quite well. Uhuru, it might be maybe relatively our generational, similarities. His father was Kenyan president. My father was a minister in the First Republic at the same time that Nkrumah and all his colleagues were there. So it might be that generational similarity. I don't think there's anything untoward about it. But I have many friends amongst all the African presidents.
Mr. Mahama, thank you. And good luck. Cheers.
Thanks.
That's Good Evening Ghana. Good night.
Hello there. Good evening. Welcome.